Hi, I'm Stephanie from A Gracious Life, and today I'm going to demonstrate Young Living's Raindrop Technique. It's a wonderful massage treatment to help balance the electrical systems of the body. It's wonderful for a relaxation, it helps to calm the mind, and it also helps to boost the immune system and detoxify our organs. So before you start every treatment, it's important to keep a few details in mind. Firstly, you want to keep your fingernails short, and second, to remove all jewelry from your body, earrings, your rings, and any bracelets. And finally, if you have white angelica, it's important to apply that on yourself as a practitioner before the session starts, as this helps to protect you as a facilitator and the receiver. So before we start, it's important to ground the receiver. And first, we're going to start with VALOR. So you would want to put 3 drops of VALOR on each palm. And then you would rub your palms gently together, and your right hand should be going under her right foot and the left hand under the left foot. And at this stage, you would want to just hold your hands on her feet and just ground and connect. And this could take about up to a minute until you feel like a sense of energy pulsing. And at this stage, you can say something in your heart, say a prayer for the receiver to receive this treatment for her highest good. And now we're ready to begin the VITA technique on the feet. Now, VITA basically means vitality through the reflexes. So you would want every single oil to be applied on her feet before we move over to the spine. And the technique is very simple. It is a rolling technique of your fingers. So imagine this is the feet. You'd want to have your pad of your fingers, tip of your fingernails, nail. So pad, tip, nail, pad, tip, nail. And you create this rocking motion of your fingers. And this rocking motion from the base of the feet up to where her big toes are. So this is the reflex point of her spine. And by creating this rocking motion, you're sending electrical impulses up along her spine. So the first oil we're going to start with is oregano. Now what you want to do is you want to drop 3 drops of oregano on your palms, and then using your other hand, roll it, activate it, about 3 circles, 3 times, pick up the oil and start working on her feet. So creating that rocking motion from around her Achilles upwards to her big toes. And then you pick up second time oil again, so activate it, pick up more oil, go to the base of her feet and do the VITA. And when you get up to the big toes, you want to just kind of give it a bit of a rub. And then the third and final time, activate it, pick up more oil. So you're working on her right foot and using your right hand. So when you finish that, you have some oil left over on your left palms. You don't want to waste it, and you just kind of wipe the base of her foot. So next we move on the other side on her left foot. And you do the same thing. You pour 3 drops and then activate again clockwise. 1, 2, 3, pick up the oil and start doing the VITA flex. Remember, it's pad, tip, nail. It's okay if you fumble in the beginning. Just keep practicing and it'll just get easier. When you get to the big toe, just kind of give it a little rub. Then start on the base here again. So where it kind of naturally has a little groove down here, and then create that rocking motion. Now your left thumb, you can rest on the top of her foot like what I'm doing now, or it could just hang, just floating, whichever is easier for you. But I like to have a little bit of anchor on her foot. And you just move upwards. So remember, to every time you move up, you want to pick up more oil. And so this is the VITA flex technique that you would apply for all the other oils except AROMA SIEZ. So the next oil you would move on to, starting from the right foot, is THYME. Then the next oil is BASIL, CYPRESS, WINTERGREEN, MARJORAM, and then PEPPERMINT. So after we've applied all the oils on the feet through VitaFlex, we're going to be moving over to the spine. And we've had the recipient face downwards so that we can be working on her back. So make sure you have a towel to make sure that she's comfortable. Okay, so before starting, it's important to apply a carrier oil on her back. So we use something like V6. That's also going to be in the Raindrop Technique box. So it's important as well to warm up the carrier oil in your palms and not drop it directly on her back. So you're spreading it over her back. First, dividing the back into thirds, and you're just feathering using the backs of your fingernails, and this is what we call feathering. So we're moving on to the first third of the back, of the lower back, moving upwards to the middle, second third of her back, and then the third portion of her upper back. And then we divide the body into two, and we're feathering half her body, and then the top half of the body. And after that, we feather along her entire body that way. So you do that about 3-4 strokes for each section. And after you've done the feathering, you do the same for fanning. So the base, fanning, then the middle section in thirds, and then upper part in thirds. Then back in half, fanning, upper part, fanning. And now you work on the entire spine. So that's the example of how you do the feather and fan technique for the oils. Now, every single oil has additional strokes along with it. And if you want to do an express version at home for your loved ones, for your spouse and your children, and you don't want to spend a whole hour doing the treatment, all you need to do is just simple feather and fanning for every single oil. And this process would now take you about 15 to 20 minutes. Now let's get started with our first oil, oregano. Now oregano is a very hot oil, and you wouldn't want more than 2 to 3 drops on her spine. And it's important to actually apply it on her lower part to the middle back, because as you get higher on her back, it's a little bit more sensitive. So this is how we're going to start with the feathering. then middle part, and then move to the upper. So as you're feathering, you can see that the fingernails is moving the oil along the spine. Now, oregano is one of those beautiful oils that are high in antiviral properties. And then next we move over to the fanning. And this also gives it a chance for the oils to be absorbed onto the spinal cord and onto the muscles and tissues. Okay, so as you can see, there's a little bit of oil that's on her spine, and that's okay because as you're moving forward, it's just going to get slowly absorbed. Now, oregano and the next oil, thyme, they're both very, very hot oils, so you got to be very careful. And if you start seeing redness on her back, that just means, you know, it's just sensitive. And you might want to check with the recipient if she's feeling some heat or tingles or pain. And if it's too hot, that's when you get a little bit more of the Cure Oil V6 and applying it over her back. So that helps to dilute the oil further. Now it's time to move on with the next oil, thyme. So oregano and thyme are the two oils that we're just only going to feather and fan. Again, you don't want to put more than 2 or 3 drops on her spine. And we're just going to move on with the feather and fan technique. So here, the bottom part, bottom half, a few strokes, middle part, a few strokes, top part, a few strokes, and you just relax. Relax, just let your hands and your finger just carry on with the strokes. Now we're moving on the second half and up her spine, the top part, and now we're going along her entire back. And now we're going to move on to fanning. Again, dividing the back into 3s. And then now we're on the second third. And now the upper back. Then divide the back into halves. So that's the bottom half. And now the top half. And then now we go all along her back. And next, we're going to move on with basil. So basil, you can put about 4 drops along her spine. 2, 3, 4. Now the reason why it's called raindrop and why we would want to apply the oils from a height of roughly 6 inches is because it gives a chance for the oils to cut through the different fields of the body. So we've got a physical field, we've got emotional field, we've got spiritual fields. So all these are sitting at various layers above the body. So as you're pouring the oils down, it's dripping through and cutting through every layer of the body. So basil, every oil, we're going to start with the feathering and fanning. Basil is great for relaxing the muscles. It's also wonderful in creating circulation as well. It's anti-spasmodic. Okay. So that's what we do first. Again, the feather and fan. And now the technique for basil is what we call a spinal tissue pull. So you never ever want to apply pressure on the spine. You want to be working on the other side of the spine. So you imagine yourself doing little circles with your fingers, and it's what we call a spinal tissue pull. So you just imagine yourself doing like circles like this, circle and pull downwards. So if we're doing that on her body, remember that's the spine, then you go on the equal outside of the spine, creating little circles and pull down. Then you move a little bit to upwards the spine and pull. And again, it's like moving ever so slowly upwards her spine. And you're pulling the tissues away from the spine to create more space. So now that you've reached the top part of the spine, and you would do the same thing on the opposite side of her back. You do it for 2 more times, totaling 3. Then we move on to the next oil, CYPRESS. Okay, CYPRESS, again, you do the feather and fan as the base. You can apply about 5 to 6 drops along her spine. Now, CYPRESS is wonderful to help with circulatory issues of the muscles, of tissues, the back, and then we move on to the fanning. So the technique we use with CYPRESS is called the finger straddle. So what you want to do is you're going to have your index finger and your middle finger straddling on the outside of her spine. Remember, we never want to apply pressure on the spine, so we're straddling on the outside of her spine. And then with your other hand, create a sawing motion on the straddled fingers. So this is your knuckles, both sides of knuckles, and you want to create a sawing motion as the straddle finger is moving along the spine. So this is what's going to look like. And this creates a vibration along, moving upwards all the way along her spine. And when you reach the neck, you just kind of pulse on the base of her skull. Again, you repeat this 3 times, straddling on the outside of her spine, creating that sawing motion. And the last time, next, we're going to move on to wintergreen. And again, we start with the feather and fan. Now, wintergreen, you can be a little bit more liberal and generous with the oils. You can have 6 to 7 drops along the spine. Again, doing the feathering. Now, as you see, the fingernails are pushing the oils upwards the spine. Now, in the event oil gets onto a bit too far down below the bum or the neck area that's causing any discomfort, just grab the V6 or any of the carrot oil and dilute it further. You don't want to use water because that's just going to drive the oils further, and you'd actually end up burning your skin. Okay. So that was the feathering, and now we're going to move on to the fanning. So wintergreen is great for anything relating to the bones, joints. It helps alleviate any pain involving those areas. And the technique that we use with wintergreen is called the VITA thumb roll. So if you remember, we were doing the VITA on the feet with our pad tip nails of our fingers. We're doing the same thing as a VITA, but using our thumbs, only our thumbs. So you would want to position yourself close to the recipient's head, and you want to put pressure using the thumb, one above the other. So the reason why you don't want to position it the same is as you're doing the VITA thumb roll, you're going to hit your knuckles on both hands. So you want one high, one low. So as you're rolling, as you're doing the VITA thumb roll, it's not hitting on each other. So you start with the base of her lower back, and you are creating this rolling technique on the outside of her spine and moving ever so gently along her spine. So again, this creates little electrical impulses along her spine. So you do this a total of 3 times. There's a lot of research. Our spinal cord contains parasites. So what the essential oils are doing is it's cleansing. It's cleansing our spinal cord. It's detoxifying our systems. And our spinal cord has lots of nerve endings that connects to all our major organs and tissues. So if we have a clean spinal cord, then the rest of your organs and bodies are getting oxygen. Next, we're going to move on to marjoram. So marjoram is a wonderful oil to relax the muscles. It's a powerful muscle relaxant, and most of us have very stiff back, so marjoram helps to relax all the muscles. So we don't want to be applying the oils exactly along the spine. We want to be applying on the outside of our spine where majority of the back muscles are. So we kind of do a crisscross, dropping it from top. You can again be quite liberal with it, about 6 to 8 drops of marjoram. And we continue with the feather and fan technique. Now for those who have very stiff back, stiff shoulders and neck, you can apply marjoram on these areas. And if you tend to have any cramps, like muscle cramps, applying marjoram helps to alleviate those cramps as well. So the technique we use with marjoram is called a circular hand massage. So you're basically using the entire hand, like your palms, And you want to create a circular motion. So if you remember BASIL, we did a spinal tissue pull where we're doing little circles with our fingers, but this time we want to be doing circles using our entire palms. So it helps for you to stand with your knees bent, just get comfortable and do big circles all across the back. Like big circles. And every time you move, you're closer and closer up the spine and up the back. So you can see my body's positioning. I'm not stuck, just staying put on my feet. I'm actually moving along because I don't want my back to get stiff. And at the same time, you're using the energy from your hips and the legs directing to your hands upwards. And so that's one side, and you would do the same on the other side of the back. So that was once with the circular palm massage with Marjoram. And you repeat the procedure 2 more times, totaling 3. And then after that, we're going to move on to the next oil called AROMA SIEZ. Now, AROMA SIEZ is a wonderful blend that consists some of the other oils that we've used already, like basil, cypress, marjoram, and it also contains peppermint and lavender. So you can kind of get a sense that this oil is also very, very good in calming the muscles down, giving more circulation. So again, we would apply the oil on the outside of the spine near the muscles. And we start with the feather and fan technique. Now, for those of you who regularly get cramps on your legs or your calf muscles, applying AROMA SIEZ really, really helps with that. Or even a post-workout recovery. It's great to apply a carrier oil with AROMA SIEZ because then it helps to soothe any of your tired, aching muscles. Okay, so once we've done the feather and fan, we're going to use the technique called the palm slide, which is actually my favorite. So you want to get down into a horse stance, just relax. One palm up the top, one palm right below, and you want to slide. So this is the action. We're sliding along her back. But what's important is you don't want to have your back frozen and just your arms moving because you're going to be hurting your back. So you want to be moving along with it. So you want your hips to move along, and you apply a little bit of pressure and you're sliding your palms all the way up to her back. Okay, so that's one time, and you do it again. And finally, third time. Now you don't need to be moving on opposite end of the bed because you can just do this where you are. So that was 3 times. Next, we're going to move on to peppermint. Now, peppermint is just like oregano and thyme, where we're just going to feather and fan. Now, peppermint helps to drive the oils deeper into the body. So everything that we've applied before it, peppermint just gonna help drive it down and absorb. Peppermint's great for overall like muscular aches and pains. And it's also good for someone who has fever. It helps to cool the body down. But then if you're too cold, peppermint is one of those oils that have dual functions, and it's going to help warm up the body as well. So if your muscles are cold, it's going to help warm it up. But if your muscles are warm, it's going to help cool it down. Then finally, we want to end it with VALOR. So VALOR just helps to kind of seal the session. You can apply literally anywhere, all around the body, and it just helps to further ground the recipient. This you can kind of apply different parts of the body, just kind of scatter around. VALOR is just one of those beautiful oils that actually helps all your red blood cells to flow freely. And it's one of those unique oils that helps to actually align the spine. It also has a nickname called chiropractor in a bottle. Because a lot of people who've had back issues like scoliosis, lower back pain, and when they do this technique and when they receive this technique and treatment, over time, a lot of the back issues, whether it's back pain, anything to do with slip disc, nerve degeneration, scoliosis, it has slowly helped to rebalance and realign the spine again. Lots of studies have actually shown the powerful benefits of this treatment. We want to end with just a lovely relaxing massage with the other carrier oil called ORTHO Ease. Rub it on your palms to warm it up, and you spread it all across the back. And you can spend as long or short time as you'd like, or hopefully until the recipient says stop, which is probably never. Now that you've spent a few minutes massaging with the carrier oil on her back to incorporate all the other beautiful oils that you've applied during the session, this is when you get the recipient to roll over on her back and just rest for a few minutes before hydrating with a glass of water that you've prepared beforehand. Now, over the next course of a few days, it's very important to drink lots of water, about 2 to 3 liters a day, because your body is continuing to detox itself from this session. So if you do have a little bit of headache or any other symptoms, or you're just tired, just remember your body is in the process of healing. So remember, drink lots of water, rest, and just let the whole session incorporate into your body. I hope you found this demonstration helpful. Until next time, enjoy your gracious life.